Matthew with the Healthcare Blog, and I'm now with Eric Demers. He is the EVP and Chief Strategy Officer for Medecision. So, Eric, you haven't been with Medecision too long, only a little bit less than a year, but it's actually I would say it's not that young a company anymore.
Not at all.
And over the last couple of years, some big changes, notably that it got purchased by HCSC, the parent company of the Blues of Illinois and Texas, and a bunch of other little blues as well.
Correct.
So you're now part of that big happy Blues family, which may not always be happy, but it may not always be a family. But and you guys have over the years made a specialty of taking different types of data and representing it back to providers and to some extent to patients. So give me a sort of snapshot of a couple of years on where you are now in the business and what your core focus is.
Sure, it's interesting you say data too and how we present it, because Medecision is 23 years old, which we're not a young company. We have been purchased by Healthcare Services Corporation a couple of years ago, which is great from a parent perspective. Our shift in our focus around data has really transpired over the last 12 to 18 months. So as we used to be squarely focused on care management solutions and how do we use the data to enable a care plan or a disease state, behavioral health state. Now along the lines where with healthcare reform and where we're going in the US, the data has become so important to support many different types of needs in the market. It's no longer just about the care management inside the walls of a payer company. So now it's about how do we take and gather that information at the most basic level. So our strategies around is 3 simple boxes: gather, transform, and deliver. And it's all about the data. So we have multiple components, including HIE components that we purchased a few years ago, to gather the data from multiple sources, either batch, real time, it could be lab, it could be pharmacy, it could be EMR, you name it. Then we use the transform piece to make it actionable. So what do we want to do with it from a clinical perspective? How is it going to drive care management? We want to drive to the point of care. How is it going to drive care plans, etc.? And then we have the deliver piece, which is we know that providers and consumers have very varying needs of technology. So we need to be able to serve up the same type of information at multiple levels. So it could be mobile devices, it could be into an EMR, it could be into a portal, it could be into some other system. We have to be able to service that data across all different types of mechanisms, delivery points. So our company's shift has been more about the data itself, because we get such great data that comes through our walls from all our various clients. And we push it back out for them to enable some type of action, usually clinical, sometimes financial. But that core foundation is our focus now.
Great. So say a word or two about who your clients are and how they're using it, and how that client base has shifted a little bit, if it has over time.
Our core client base traditionally was always the larger insurers in the country. So a lot of large blues and independent payers as well. We have roughly just south of 50 plans who are customers. We actually, in some of the statistics we had looked at, 1 in 6 insured Americans flows through our data. So it's very pervasive from that perspective. Our shift starting about 10 years ago, we started enabling provider tools to help leverage or automate some processes in the market when it comes to payer requirements. That was iExchange went out in 2001. So since then we've been working more towards how do we shift our focus to enable information to flow more dynamically between payer and provider, right, to short circuit a bunch of things. We also bought a health information exchange company in 2009.
Which was that one?
It was called HXTI.
Right.
We've now used that technology to enable a bunch of our new technologies moving forward. But also with that purchase, we have multiple health information exchanges running around the country. So we have a whole provider set of users as well. It's not just payers. So we're actually playing on both sides of that fence. We have provider customers and payer customers, and we're trying to help bridge the gap between the two.
So in the world of HIEs, you've seen a couple of big acquisitions in the last year.
Sure.
I guess I could put you guys in the mix of that one as well a couple of years back, with Medicity and Aetna and Ingenix and Axolotl.
Correct.
How do your, maybe this is maybe I'll have to ask them, but how do your parent company at HCSC and the Blues, how are they viewing using you as part of their wider business, or do you regard this business as purely independent in terms of revenue generation, also what it does for its customers?
No, they're actually all interconnected, right? So from a payer perspective, or Blues perspective, the technology we can bring can help bring out that clinical hub, for lack of better terms, that they're trying to build out to the provider communities. Be that help exchange that information, not really just be the repository, but help move the information back and forth between the payer and provider. I'm sure, I don't know for sure what Aetna and United are going to do with their purchases. I'm sure they'll be running independent of what they're doing today, but they'll also leverage the technology, I'm sure, to build on a much broader national approach, since they're more national-based companies on exchanging information. So the Blues are looking at least that we've talked to about our technology, is how can we leverage the technology we have in place now to build that ring of data exchange, information exchange of data within a certain region or a certain state or a certain, whatever the context is. And maybe they want to interact with a state-run HIE, but we want to have our own HIE. There's all varying degrees of what they want to do. There's nothing's been set in stone. But there's lots of opportunities, and we're actually engaged in multiple opportunities with them now at varying levels depending on how they want to approach it. But they do see a value in having the HIE components. How can we make that leveraged out to the market, especially on the healthcare reform?
So a couple of years back, Medecision was doing, I think you called it a payer-based personal health record. I may have the terminology wrong, but it was essentially taking the claims data and delivering it at the point of care to doctors who didn't have EMRs. How has that continued on? And then I guess we're still in a lot of which most doctors still don't have EMRs. Is the HIE kind of the updated version of that?
Yeah, well, so the payer-based one that you referred to is called our clinical summary data.
Right.
So basically what we're doing, it's almost a skinny down version of your EMR data or your profile as an individual from a medical longitudinal perspective. We always had the ability to push it out to providers who can pick it up through a portal or some other context. But now we're pushing it out through mobile devices as well, through iPad and iPhone, so you can pick it up on the fly where they need the information. The health information exchange piece enables us to pull the data sources to get more real-time information in there. So it's not so much just a historical view anymore. We can update that view as the information comes in to make it as relevant as the data is that we have. Might be the best way to say it. So we can update your profile to show, I know you had these 5 labs done maybe 3 months ago. New labs came in real time. We update the profile to show what the most recent results were. So it's the most up-to-date information we can provide a provider, which enables him to start practicing his care delivery with you as an individual a little more upstream than he has traditionally. Because you can actually say, okay, I've seen the results, I've seen the history, I've seen a wider view of you as a patient from the doctors outside of me who care for you. So what does that mean in the context of what I'm trying to deliver for you? So it allows them to provide care, hopefully with less services and less testing involved, because they're not repeating things that were already done.
Right.
Because now they know that they were.
And I think you had a study a while back showing that was happening in just with that payer-based administered health record a while ago. There were sort of cost savings down the line, just non-repeats of tests and better information with the doctor. You can assume that as you bring in the administrative data and the clinical data together by the HE, you could, doctors should do a better job. There's an ongoing argument, of course, as to whether doctors, people will do a better job of just giving the information, or we need to change incentives in organizations too, but they tend to follow the information flow eventually as well, I think. So, having said that, and you've now been in the job for a little while, you have a new CEO today. Say a word about your new CEO, and then, although I'm not talking about her, what do you expect to see from Medecision in the next 12 months as we come back?
Sure. Yeah, we are excited. We have a new CEO starting up this week. She has a great background in both.
What's her name?
Her name is Deborah Gage. She has a great background in both payer-based business and IT and providers. She's done a bit of all. So we think that she can add a lot of value to the company. From a next 12 months perspective, our strategy really hasn't changed much probably since the middle of last year. It's been driving hard around the data piece to put tools out to the market that will enable the flow of information between payer and provider. How do we support that flow? That's going very, very fast and rapid in the market right now. We have a lot of strategic investments around it, and we have a lot of customers who are very excited about what's coming out of that. So as we look into 2012, it's more about making that information actionable to influence clinical decisions at the point of care, as well as get that information to flow back into our systems to update what's going on in the payer world so that they're in sync, because the reimbursement models are shifting a bit. So a lot of that's going to require them to be moving in parallel around the same path as reimbursement so they can manage that spend effectively.
Great. So the last question is, how ready are both the people in the health plan world, your customer, your long-time customers there, and your newer customers in the provider world, if we do get significant payment change, how ready culturally do you think either of those sides are, or are you guys running ahead of them?
I think we're running a little ahead of them. I see a lot of the reimbursement changes are being tested in pilots right now in the market, but they're very varied across the stream. I think the payers are a bit ahead of wanting to engage those new reimbursement streams. The providers seem more engaged to want to do it now than they have in the past, but they also, both sides recognize that you're going to need tools to support this change in reimbursement, as well as how, for your physician practice, it's not how many patients do I see in an hour, it's seeing the right patients that need to come through the door. So that's a shift in focus of how I've traditionally run my practice. So I think that'll be a harder cultural transition for folks. But reimbursement changes tend to drive that ball forward, for good or bad.
But you think we're running a little ahead at the moment. I think it seems to me that the technology energy is in the room here is probably, there's a lot of energy in the ACO, vertical integration, whatever you call it, well, but there's certainly, it seems to be the coalescing of the administrative piece and the clinical piece, which you guys are at the forefront of, is coming along quite nicely, actually. Right. Okay, with that, I've been talking with Eric Demers. He's the Executive VP and Chief Strategy Officer of Medecision by HCSC. Eric, thanks for your time today.
Great, thank you.